This meeting will be video recorded and broadcast over local access channel 8 and through the town website at www.eastham-ma.gov. Jim, I think you saw Andrew walk in, and we also have with us Carrie Purcell, Barnstable County.
Yeah.
Like,
so like recycling person, expert, whatever.
and Kim from DPW. And I think you've met Kim before.
Yes, I have.
So let's just get through the approval. Oh, Jim, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. The internet went down at town hall for a minute, so that was on our end. We're going to hold off on approving the minutes because Andrew wasn't at the last meeting, and that would mean just you and I, and I'd rather have 3 of us vote on it. If you want. So yesterday, John joined me at the select board meeting, and they passed the new committee charge. The only amendment was that the town administrator is now the town manager. So we have to change the charge with that. But yeah, so there were not many people in the room, but the select board did have interesting things to say and comments, and so it was a nice meeting.
I'll be there for it. Yesterday, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the meeting was yesterday.
Sunset's too soon.
Yeah, so hopefully the website will be updated, and then Kim and I have some ideas on other things to do with the recycling page on the town website, but want to wait for the new charge to go up so that it doesn't get messed up after that. With that, Carrie, would you like to?
Yeah, I mean, would your preference be that I just sort of introduce myself?
Yeah.
And then maybe we can do this when there's sort of a full house next year.
Okay.
Or we're doing it
I really want to. I'd like at least a summary of what this is.
Yeah, I'll give you kind of the quick, and I'll use the slides to kind of. Do you want to
drive?
I just assume that everybody knows how to read, so I don't want to, speak to. I'm not a fan of when people read word for word of their presentation. Yeah, the assumption is that we all know how to read in a room. So I'm Carrie Purcell. I've been in this position nearly 9 years. So I'm primarily with Mass DEP, who funds a grant through waste to energy facilities, like the one that we take our trash to. Eastham takes it to CMAS Covanta. And then there's a thing called REC credits, which is waste to energy credits. And the law here in the Commonwealth provides that we take some of the monies that they make and have created recycling and folks within DEP like myself that ensure that these programs are happening. This has been happening for a really long time, even with the moratorium on waste to energy. So I'm not tax funded. I am trash funded. But as we all sadly know, trash isn't going away anytime soon. So with the county, I work on a lot of different projects that are outside of Mass DEP because I am a county employee. So my host is Barnstable County, and I work with the Cape Cod Cooperative Extension Department. And we're currently located in Yarmouth, and then we have sort of a satellite office that I was at before COVID, which we call the farmhouse in Barnstable. Now I'm mostly working home. Just because AmeriCorps Cape Cod was absorbed, and the office space is extremely limited. So I'm mostly at home or in meetings like this, finally, in person again the last couple of years. So my background is political science and economics, and then I have a master's in public administration and emergency management. So this kind of fits nicely because I work with a lot of public officials, some of the emergency management debris fields, people like Kim, solid waste and recycling committees or commissions or whatever each town prefers to call themselves. Right now I'm working with the military base, so it kind of expands everywhere. I also have conversations with boards of health often, and select boards. I have been to town meetings and I've only been asked to speak one time. supporting something at a town meeting. That was many years ago. So I don't often get asked to do that. But I do go to my town meetings when I can and chat up where I live. So right now, Gary, I met him, gosh, 7 years ago, probably at this point.
7 years ago.
And at the time, I think you were the chair or co-chair of the committee at the time. And Eastham has always had kind of a semi-active. So sometimes you're very active. Sometimes, there's a little bit of a lull, whether it's, participants or whatever. But I've actively worked with Eastham for a while now. I've been to some of your events that you've hosted and emceed them. So it's really nice to work with the town. It's nice to work with the 15 towns in Barnstable County, as well as the 7 towns with Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard, Dukes County and Nantucket County. And then also I've acquired, for I'm not sure how long, 5 communities outside of Boston, which are Arlington, Bedford, Lincoln, Lowell, and Waltham. They all seem very self-sufficient. They reach out to me occasionally, but seem to know what they're doing. So, plus they don't really know me. So my district knows me. So the big thing that Gary had asked me to talk about, because this is a huge project, I learned yesterday while speaking with the director of my department, Mike McGuire, that the county is really putting this at the forefront of the priority list. So the directors of, department directors of the county, they sit down with various other county officials and they prioritize what's going on every year. And they talk about what they want to see done, how they're going to prioritize it, what the budgets are going to look like all through the county. And every department has their own sort of budget lines that I know nothing about. I just know I can ask for money occasionally. Sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't. So this future development, we're calling the Cape Cod Coastal Community Composting Facility, and it's a proof of concept. This started in, I left a lot of this out because this wasn't my primary. So I cheated too. This was my last presentation to the military base on actually November 19th. I just changed the date and sent it to you. But basically some background with this is in 2019, our former county administrator, Jack Units, reached out to me after visiting Copenhagen, and they have a state-of-the-art waste energy facility there in Copenhagen, Denmark, and he wanted to know if we could replicate something like that. Thank God. I love the enthusiasm, and I said, well, 2 reasons why not. Primaries are a moratorium on waste energy facilities as well as capacity expansion. So they're not building more facilities and they're not expanding the amount of waste that they're currently able to accept. So whatever that tonnage looks like per day, per year. And the other is citing something, permitting something, and the costs are prohibitive nearly, unless, you're already in the business of doing waste energy. So instead, I was asked to put out a scope of work, and I worked with the Cape Cod Commission. And that scope of work turned into an RFP for a study. That study happened, the county paid for that. It was about $150,000 that I asked for, that they gave me. And we were able to put out an RFP and acquire 2 consultants, Tetra Tech, that looked at the recycling materials that we have here in the Cape, as well as the hard to recycle materials, and then Geosentech, which looked at the cost benefit analysis of trucking or rail hauling waste, trash off the Cape, where it currently goes. It's off the Cape. We don't really manage it here except for Bourne. Bourne manages Bourne and Falmouth, and then the fly ash from Seamass Covanta. I think there are some commercial entities that go through there, but not many. So we looked at the Cape and the islands. We got through the study in 2021. The recommendation came down to 2 things. It was food waste, food scraps, and then C&D. C&D has an outlet, but it's very expensive. It remains expensive. We didn't need to look at that, but it's by weight, by volume. Food scraps and organics, which is leaf and yard waste, makes up approximately 30 to 36% of our waste stream. So when you combine food and shrubs and grass and leaves and all that other stuff, the carbon and the nitrogen with the food, you're getting about 36% of what you find in a typical trash bag.
Okay, so that doesn't include the blackbird stuff that we're hauling off. That's just what's in the solid waste.
Yep, that's just in solid waste. So the goal with having a black earth coming here in Eastham is to get your residents that utilize your transfer station to not be putting it in the trash, because we're taking an essential commodity and we're paying to ship it over the bridge.
Right. I was just wondering if that 30% was
Yeah,
just
that's what
the-
Blackbird is taking from us now. So when they show up in Eastham, they're
Right.
taking that.
Right. No, but I was wondering what the 30% number comes from, 30% of the,
30 to 36 is, yeah,
of the stuff that goes in the dumpster.
Yeah.
That's 30% of that, 30 to 36% of that is food waste.
food and or leaf and yard waste.
Oh,
So
yeah.
the two combined,
And that includes commercial and
yes, residential.
residential, so it counts
It kind of
whoever their hauler is and not, okay, I just trying to
Yeah,
picture it all
wrap
in
your
my
brain
head.
around it, it's okay. So that's really where we wound up. So, you know, I wanted to define municipal solid waste because a lot of folks just, you know, when I say solid waste, people ask if I work in poo, if I work with wastewater treatment, stuff like that, sure, to insert this. And it's not, it's trash mostly, not the biosolids. And with trash becomes, you know, so you break it down to the household hazardous waste and the compostable food, things like non-MSW, which is contaminated soils, and then construction demolition, ABC, which is asphalt or concrete, and just various, you know, mattresses, textiles, all the things that your transfer station offers that residents can come and bring to separate that out of your waste stream so that it goes somewhere else more valuable. And so again, like I said, we did these two studies. It cost the county about $150,000. We had this recommendation. And, you know, for a couple of years, the county was really deciding what we were going to do on this. So again, this is one of the things that the diversion takeaways were. You can tell I know this really well because I'm way ahead of my own slides. So we really wanted to circle back and look at mass development, seeking divested excess parcels on Joint Base Cape Cod. So the military base currently is marking parcels of land that are no longer seen as necessary or viable for military use. There are plenty of excess parcels of land. Mass development has first right of refusal. So they're working with the military now on a master plan for community housing and other infrastructure on the base. We've identified through our partnership with the military base 2 separate parcels of land. One is already mitigated and less viable for our use. The other one, it's already mitigated, and it's called the Burrow Pit. It's about 150 acres, but we're only looking at about 20 acres of that parcel to operate a proof of concept that will probably utilize between 2 and 3 acres, but you need a buffer zone. So we're working with the 4 Upper Cape towns on this, and the military on really building this proof of concept. So what I did when I realized that the military was willing to work with us, mass development with this excess parcel of land, did not necessarily want that particular parcel for their master plan. I've worked with Eric Holkinson. I hope I say his name correctly. He's a wonderful person. He's directing this particular chore. I like a better words with base. I think right now it's wait. And so we've had conversations. So they know we want it. They're basically saying, you know, it's fine. So we got to figure out how, you know, we're going to divest that property. So because we needed more money, I went out and wrote a grant for $80,000 with 11th Hour Racing. If you're not familiar with them, they're out of Rhode Island, and they're Eric and Wendy Schmidt Foundation, or Google money, and they support a lot of different types of coastal community projects. And this is one of the coastal community projects that they gave us the $80,000 for. So we went out and put out an RFP, and SES Engineers with Greg McCarran came and worked with us. So that was our 3rd study in tandem with the 2 studies from 21. And we're doing really, really well. So fast forward to, you know, sort of the reasons why, you know, like I mentioned, diminished capacity for landfill waste. There's moratoriums on waste energy. The cost of removal of trash and recycling is exponentially increasing, you know, year over year. And we have this valuable, you know, material that we're just paying to ship off Cape and over the bridge for somebody else to utilize, market and sell. And not to mention that we have, you know, single source aquifers, the 6 lenses across the Cape. So this is a wastewater issue as well. So the project update is that, you know, we're working with 4 Upper Cape towns, the county and the military base. And the latest is that our current county administrator, again, on Monday, he had prioritized this. My boss told me this, that Michael Dunn had prioritized this project as part of his bigger picture for what the county wants. I've been spearheading this, you know, since 2019, 2020, and all the way through. Working with the base as the point of contact, working with the 4 Upper Cape towns and their town management, town administrators, the DPWs, transfer stations, and the folks that this is gonna eventually affect. So we put together sort of a Gantt chart to look at what the goals and the deliverables will become as we move forward. I had a meeting last Tuesday with the powers that be, meaning, you know, with the town administrators and the county administrator as well, with the military base. And basically what we're doing is we're asking the 4 Upper Cape towns for signature of an MIA or an IMA, an intermunicipal agreement, as well as a nominal contribution of $7,500 for each town, which is $30,000. And then in turn, the county administrator is going to ask the commissioners for an additional $45,000 for $75,000 to get us through this next leg of 18 months, which is legal or divestment. And then to continue our consulting with SES Engineers and Great Karen. They're ecstatic, they're agreeable. So hopefully in the next, you know, it's a holiday, so things kind of slow down. People are on breaks, families coming in. So I suspect by the end of January that IMAs will be signed. The towns will have figured out what budget line the $7,500 is coming from. The commissioners will have a vote. You know, are we going to go ahead and add $45,000 to $150,000 that they've already contributed? All sources point to yes. I know I'm being reported right now, but this is something that's, you know, we've talked about, you know, a lot. So once that happens, we're just going to continue with the divestment, whether we have to go through mass development or straight through the military. We'll work with their JAG, which is their legal department. The county has a legal department. And then really, as we move forward, I think to manage my expectations and the expectations of the project, we're looking at around 18 to 24 months before we're shovel ready. Once the proof of concept is up and running and we prove that this is going to work and we have a market, because you have to have the materials, you have to process the materials, and then you have to find market for the materials, because it does us no good for it to just sit there. And so we're looking at different business models, whether it's a utility model or whatever, you know, so third party, you know, operator, vendor, that type of thing.
Is there any plans to add carbon sequestration to those things? Because there's a local company in Eastham, well, there was, that used to sell compost at very $200 a pound compost.
Right.
They were unfortunately shut down by the town. But like, are you guys planning to kind of replicate that process in order to have those deliverables? Otherwise, you're going to have a hard time selling compared to the guys that are already doing this on Cape.
Right. So our consulting firm, SES Engineers, has looked at different, you know, aftermarket models of what that compost will look like and, you know, where we're going to send it. I do have folks from MASTEC, which is the Mass Alternative Septic Testing Center, looking at maybe potentially trying to integrate at some point, you know, the urine, the composting urine.
I'm talking more like bioactivation, biochar types, stuff like that.
Right. So we're not quite there yet as far as what that end model will look like and what that after product will look like, but it's definitely something that we're continuing making sure that when we put all of this together, everybody's happy and it's mutually beneficial.
And then do we have the people to work such a facility like this? Because I know that's something that's tough to get on Cape is educated labor. As someone who is educated labor can't find a job, I know there's also not many jobs for it. When there is one, the town shuts it down. So I'm just curious in terms of like, how will we even run that facility like this? If we have the people who have the expertise in composting to properly administer it, I guess.
So my theory is with this is that the county will own and acquire the land and then it'll be a potentially third party builder operator. So they would bring in that expertise themselves. So likely the labor would either potentially come from off Cape with third party, or they would hire folks here. The operation itself will probably only require about 3 staff in the moment until we start being able to expand the facility. So this will be sort of a modular facility starting at around 3 million. That's today's money. So in a couple of years, it could be 3.5, 4 million. But a permanent facility is about 5 million, 5.5 million.
Mhm.
Again, today's money. So, you know, we don't know what that's gonna look like, but yeah, we would need to find educated labor or at least one person who can train other skilled folks to be able to run the facility. But I do not foresee the county operating it. I can see them owning land and potentially, you know, the build out of the facility, potentially, like they don't see that. I really see we take in the land and then we lease that out to a third party vendor operator for the time being. And then once the proof of concept proves itself and we have that aftermarket and we've gotten the business model, you know, correct, and we think it's operational, we really like to expand it to other communities on the Cape. Potentially have a space where there's a transfer station of the materials so that you're only, you know, you're pulling from the lower Cape into mid Cape and then the materials go there. So you don't have multiple, especially with the base, we can't have multiple. I mean, this isn't a space where an Eastham resident's gonna bring their own bucket.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Yeah, so this is something where it's a commercial.
Yeah, it's a haul and drop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
Exactly, and so I see maybe, I think, don't quote me on this, and we were talking about this the other day, and somebody asked very similar questions. And they were talking about maybe 5 trucks, you know, I can't remember if it was a day or a week, you know, going through, because we're looking at the Mass General permit of 12,000 tons or less. So that's 7,000 of the carbon, which is a leaf yard waste, and then 5,000 of the food scrap waste. So there's primarily we're targeting residential food waste. However, we want to be able to open it up to commercial as well for those 4 Cape towns in the meantime, before we're able to expand it further. So. But I think it's a win. We're a Cape Cod composting desert. And this is something that has been my target since 2019. And to hear that the county administrator is so on board and is prioritizing this means a lot to the community, I think, and to the Cape and to the county. So I'm really happy to hear about it. There's a lot of other things that we do with the holiday strand lights and the mattress recycling, latex paint, boat shrink wrap. I mean, and Eastham has been a part of all of those as depots. So when you go there, you see like here's the shrink wrap and the signs that go out. So Eastham has actually been really, really important to these projects because we need drop zones kind of everywhere so that they're not rushing all of them. So Eastham has been a depot for mattresses and for the boat shrink wrap. And then you participate in the holiday lights, which is good.
So the idea for the facility is that facility at Joint Base services the entire, in the long run. That I wasn't sure if you were building a prototype there that you would replicate in other locations, or if that.
I would love to see that happen. I mean, we've got the study, and if there's land space, we're talking anywhere from 2 to 4 acres. And the 4th acre is really sort of that buffer. So if we can get 2 to 3 acres with an additional acre of, you know, safety space, if you will, to make everything comfortable, we've got the study. If the town wanted to come forward and say, we want to look at the study, it's a public study, and they want to, like, we're going to put it out publicly soon. We're just waiting for the holidays to end because a lot of our folks that do these websites and stuff for us at the county, you know, if they're on vacation and something like that. So now that we're ready to really publicize this, I want to put all of this information on a one web page. So the studies that were done and, you know, wrapped up in 21 to this current study to sort of a 3D kind of model replica that SCS Engineers has created for us. So people can sort of virtually see, you know, this animated facility so they can get an understanding of how that operates. Right now, the simplicity of it is that the truck model, you know, they come in, they put it into a receiving facility, so it's covered. It's moved around and then it's moved outside into aerated, covered aerated static piles. And then after they have had time to cook, then they roll over for the curing process, then they go through the screening process. Tailings have to make its way somewhere, you know, it's fun stuff. And then, that goes into the residuals, because the tailings is usually like the plastics and stuff that kind of get stuck in there. And then we have to find a way to be able to market it as a viable,
Like I
resource.
said, I work with a business, well, again, it was a business in Eastham that does sell tons and tons of compost.
Yeah.
They used to, again,
Mhm.
and they were very successful at it, so it's not,
This can be fun where the towns take it back as well. So once it's marketed, they might take it back because it's their,
well, I doubt you can compete with his model, because again, he's doing bioactivated, like, he's using carbon sequestration to like enhance it and activate well, again, it was a bioactivated, product. It's a very, very good product.
Yeah.
I don't know that you'll find the same market he has anyway, because it's like some professional gardeners, and they're snobs with this stuff.
oh, I'm sure.
So, I mean, you probably can get residents to probably buy it in bulk, but in terms of commercial, you need to compete
Yeah.
in that regard.
Yeah, and I, because I am not, that savvy in the recipes and the market materials itself. That's why I have Great Karen and,
Yeah, I mean, I was a product developer and launcher for 20 years, so now I sell product.
well, we might need you then.
So there's like two separate processes for food and yard waste?
So it goes in together. It's like a recipe,
Okay,
and commercial
Mix it in,
recipes
that's
have
right.
sort of yep, so it has to be, you might actually be able to speak to this better than I can, but the recipes themselves is around 75% nitrogen and 25% of the food scrap.
okay.
So the way that you have to cook and cure it is a combined recipe of the two. And the reason why we're doing the covered static piles is because there's an airfield and we have to watch out for, birds and vector and things like that on the military base. So we're sticking with the receiving building.
How long is the turnover on the compost that they project?
So I think it's about 6 months for total process.
Well, Gary and I were just at one that was 2 months.
2 months.
That's where, because we went to see Biochar before they shut it down,
Mhm.
and that was they have a 2 month turnaround, which is why they're so successful at what they're doing.
Yeah, we haven't gotten to that particular, we haven't set, and a lot of it I think is gonna depend on who's operating it.
Yeah, I mean, well, I can tell you 6 months is probably not gonna be very profitable, but so you guys want to have that. You're faster.
And this process takes care of the invasives issue that we have with
Yeah.
our yard waste.
Yeah,
As long as we
so
get-
heat it up.
Yeah, 140. Are they heating it or is it just getting hot?
It should be getting hot.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not.
Yeah, I would say if you're applying heat, then that's a whole other
Yeah.
animal.
No,
So Carrie, the essential key here for other communities to do this process, this coordinating composting, I guess, is to have the land, find the land in which to do it. That's gonna be a key to-
reached out to me a while ago with the property that they had here in Eastham. I don't know if Brewster Sand and Gravel still operate here, but somebody had reached out to me many years ago about a potential composting facility. But the last I heard from that was that the owner was looking to sell and felt as if there was a composting facility on that particular property he wanted to sell off, that it would lessen the value. This has been doing this for 9 years, so maybe 7 years ago, I got that phone call.
I'm just thinking about the Outer Cape here, how could we, in the future, maybe think about something like this?
If you want to permit it through Mass DEP, you can, if you wanted to find land space at a transfer station, and as long as you fit certain parameters around the permit, you can, and you have staffing to do it, you can say Eastham takes that from Wellfleet, Truro, Provincetown, and the 4 your towns operate a facility. You could do it that way as well. I think the more careful you are with screening it, because right now, most of the transfer stations give away this stuff for free to their residents that have stickers. They can come in and take it. And some towns are a little bit more prolific about screening it. Some towns don't do it as much. So if you have the staff to be able to do it, within the town, you can certainly, have a smaller scale commercial site where you're putting the residential food waste in with your leaf and yard waste piles that currently.
Yeah, so you fit the operation to.
You just cater it as long as it fits within the.
I know a recently abandoned location in Eastham we could use. Well, it's not abandoned, it's just not usable anymore for what it was being used for, but it has compost operation on site. So, it's plenty of space.
So, I mean, I'm happy to share the study. I mean, if you want to see the study, I mean.
Yeah, I would like to, just because like I got involved with biochar like what, 2 years ago, and have been learning the ins and outs. Unfortunately, that was a big waste of time, but I do know a lot about compost and how to make the best kind of compost.
Yeah.
Because the guy that was there was like a world expert on it.
Yeah.
And he did.
From the main composting school by chance, or is this a separate thing?
He didn't come from the he'd been making compost for 20 years and
Okay.
selling it like in this town. And selling it nationwide and building machines that make it as well, like all over the country and in China and everywhere. So like that's kind of his thing for the last 20 years. And I learned everything I could from him because I was hoping to do some of that composting at the transfer station.
Got it, okay.
But again, unfortunately, he got shut down, so he's probably not amicably interested in helping anybody at this point. Yeah, he did shut down his livelihood. So, but yeah, I was hoping to bring some of that to the transfer station and composting system, or one that we can build
Right,
at the time. So,
and so the town shut down.
well, one of the cronies complained and that got shut down because they moved on the Cape and they didn't like the smell.
Okay,
So the whole business, I don't like the smell was powerful enough to get it shut down. It's shut down.
Kim, you know, given that we can find the land somewhere, firstly, do you think the Outer Cape, the DPWs would be interested in something like this?
Are you saying like at our transfer station?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, the hardest part right now, I think, for the transfer stations is the staffing that can do it. Because you can't just willy-nilly throw it into a pile like leaf and yard waste. That can kind of sit for a little bit.
Yeah.
This takes a lot more turning. You have to pay attention to the temperature. And it can and will, if you're not doing it correctly, introduce, vector, smell, odor, that type of stuff. So you have to have somebody that's able to manage it and skilled enough or knowledgeable to do that at that level. Anytime you're introducing food, you're changing the dynamic of the material itself. And then again, as long as it's quality, I mean, you can still get rid of it to your residents, or maybe you can pack it and sell it to the residents for $5 a bag. I mean, that's really up to you because it's not, we're looking at operating something that's more of like a commercial system, but at a transfer station, now Needham has a commercial system there. I haven't been there in
Is there going to
years.
be a drying process for the food waste? Because that's the big problem with food waste. It tends to
In
be
the
so
receiving
wet.
Building, yeah.
Okay, because it tends to come in so wet that it actually slows the process down.
Yeah, so that'll be all done in the receiving building so that and then there's like a leachate cool tank, and then all of that water will be reintroduced throughout that process.
Okay.
So, but I'll make sure that I get the study to
Yeah,
you. Gary
please.
can share your email with me. I'm sure you're on
Yeah.
the, okay.
Plus, I see Gary every week for coffee.
Yeah, so I can share the study, but like I said, I want to get a big web page out where it's all right
And
there.
this is in Barnstable County, not.
This is for Barnstable
Okay.
County. Mhm. So this is a Barnstable County project. Many of the outer lower Cape, mid Cape towns have reached out to us. I've had the islands reach out as well. But right now we have to stick to the 4 Upper Cape towns because that's the military and the 4 Upper Cape, the contiguous.
Well, then I may have found a solution for Bob then. Is what if Bob buys it? He's got the best composting business in the east of the Mississippi.
You have to tie him into this.
Well, he just lost 3 employees because his operation got shut down by the town, and this will put it somewhere that's out of reach of the town.
Yeah, this is something that,
Fire it back up. Plus, he's better than 6 months turnover. He can do 2 months turnover. That's way more money. 3 times more money.
But you said Needham has a commercial operation that the town.
at the transfer station, yeah. So they accept it from the commercial, I believe the commercial entities as well as residents, and there's folks that operate just the facility that are just compost operators there. They screen everything, they sell it all out. I haven't been there in many years. But I think it's worth a revisit to see how it's doing in Needham. I went to Groton with Black Earth. I've been to the Groton facility as well as Manchester by the Sea just to see what they were doing. It was chilly out, so as far as like vector and smell, it's pretty minimal, but it was a very clean operation.
Do it right. It shouldn't smell at all.
Yeah.
So eventually, this would be something that we could get rid of Black Earth and we could haul our food instead of. Yep. So even, even if we didn't have it here, we could get rid of Black Earth and we could haul. I'm just thinking like, that would make more sense.
What's
Unless Black Earth is the one that winds up operating it.
What's the, yeah. that's true.
But
What is
it'd be
the-
nicer to haul it.
What is the
not
potential
close to
revenue
farm.
reduction for the town since they do make money on all that solid waste? We know what that revenue reduction might look
So
like.
right now, that a lot of the towns are paying more for the hauling and separating of the food scraps to the vendors, taking it off Cape than they would if they were taking it to a facility like this. So right now, so the former Cape towns are really tricky because Bourne doesn't pay a solid waste fee. I mean, their tax base pays for the curbside pickup of the town, right? But there's no disposal fee. There's no tipping. Falmouth has a pretty, push tipping fee through NASA disposal to take the stuff to Bourne. Mashpee is relatively high, but their transfer station is operated by a third-party vendor. And then you have Sandwich, which takes their stuff to CMS. And they're just now renegotiating their contract with them. So if I look at the all of the Upper Cape towns right now, if you've got a tipping fee without any transportation costs or any of that extra overhead, if you're under $110 per ton, you're probably average. Any less, you got a sweetheart deal, any more. Right?
Yeah.
But that's just, again, that's how the towns are negotiating.
Mhm.
So with the compost facility, you're looking at around $73 per ton for disposal.
Okay.
So that depending on how much you're paying, which again, Bourne pays zero.
Well, I know it's a revenue positive for us as a town, so it would be a loss either way. Even if they're paying more to get rid of it, there is a revenue driver, so they're still losing money. So I was just curious because in the same vein, like we need to start doing more in plastic recycling. Okay, and that's something that I've also been working on. I won the Green Chemistry Award in 2006, so I've been doing this a long time. But I wanted to start doing low pressure injection on Cape from recycled plastic.
Mhm.
Now, creating a system to collect the plastic would make that easier, but then again, it's like then I'm competing against the town for again something the town makes revenue on, right? When does that become a problem?
I mean,
Because at some point the town's going to need revenue, and if they're getting most of their revenue from trash, and we start taking away the trash, how long before they start doing something that's slightly anti-competitive in order to keep that revenue? Because like I said, they're.
well, I'm not saying towns collecting revenue off the trash unless they're sticker fees or way.
I mean, I know we are because I have the list that you gave me that has how much we make on all the little doodads of trash. Not all of the trash.
Are you
but
talking
some
about
of the trash.
recycling, like the vertibles?
Yeah,
Yeah, that, okay, I was gonna say,
Now we're
solid
paying.
waste itself is a cost.
it's not for everything.
Now we are.
Even-
We are
she
now?
said Even
So we were, I
cardboard.
want to say I had like that. We made like 11 cents per pound or whatever on certain things, and
Textiles right now is really the only thing that we're getting.
Not even scrap?
Oh, and scrap. Yeah, sorry.
yeah, we used to pay like 14 cents on textiles or something.
Yeah.
So okay, so we're not making. Yeah.
Do you have any others?
Well, breadcrumbs.
Oh, the Red Cross, somebody brought that up earlier, yeah. So, yeah, so on divertibles, occasionally, it's getting harder and harder to have a revenue stream, or we call it rebates, where
Yeah,
you
yeah,
make
sure.
something.
Well, that's why I don't want to be competing against rebates, and it was basically what I'm trying not to do because I know that if I do, I'm not going to win. But if it's
But
getting,
I'm gonna tell you, when was the last time you made any profit off of a plastic or PET number one, or,
yeah, I'm looking
or your
at.
boat shrink wrap that you're collecting?
Yeah, no.
I'm looking at 1s, 2s, and 3s only. That's not the next way. Okay, because I'm going to shred it and inject it in the
And
molds.
I haven't seen a profit off of that. Now, clean PET number one, that recycling facility, like a MRF, can get a hold of, probably makes a little bit of money because there's actually a deficit.
That's the thing I
For processors,
stalled about it.
textiles.
Yeah, that's actually the one that's most useful for me because I can 3D print it directly.
Exactly. So, but I don't think towns are getting a
Okay.
revenue stream off of that.
All
So
right.
you're taking away from the four.
Yeah, I mean, I'm cool with that, but I just know we have contracts with them, and when I was in the chair previously, I know that was something we were having to discuss because they kind of hold all the cards. But now I'm not in chair, so I
Do
can
you
take
contract
it.
with anybody for the recycling and all, or is it just kind of a handshake and where it goes is the best deal?
Yes, yeah.
Most towns on the Cape still are like old school handshake.
Yeah, I want.
The trash are contracts. The hauling of the solid waste itself, everything that winds up in the trash that goes off Cape as trash. whether or not there's cardboard, you know.
Well, like I have
plastic
recycling
in-
with Nauset, but they pick it all up in the same truck, so it technically goes out as trash. I don't.
I mean, we're not supposed to be doing that, but I mean, there's a different department that regulates that. It's not me, fortunately. I mean, it's just, I'm not a regulator.
Yeah, that's why I want to try to get some of the self, because at least then I know I'm recycling some of it.
Yeah.
I just don't know what the volumes I can calculate, but I was worried that it would become like an issue if I do start taking any kind of appreciable volume, if they're making money off, they may want to stop me.
Jim, what do you think of the concept?
I think it's a good concept. I think I mean, it's maybe not the best we can get, but it's better than not having anything at all. And it's a good start from which we can boost ourselves up to the best. But because I mean, we're competing. Let's face it, with the town, with the whole issue of wastewater, of housing, of any number of things, and it's going to be increasingly more difficult, I think, for us to generate our own facility, at least to start up. Once we have a stream going elsewhere, then perhaps we can make the argument that we could make some money off it. But and hopefully by then the other big issues will have settled themselves. I mean, I've been trying to figure out where the town is with everything else, and it's. I mean, I was an elected official here on Long Island for a long time, and I've juggled problems like this before. It's awfully difficult when you're talking about wastewater. You're talking about people having places where your firefighters can live, and any number of other things. So I think this is a good idea.
Right, and I don't, right now, as far as like compost, we're not looking at it so much as a revenue. Again, SES can answer this, but it's more of a cost avoidance, cost reduction.
Because also looking at it that way, it should be fine. If you're trying to make money on a tough sell,
Right. Yeah. So it's definitely, cost avoidance is something I can certainly say within the.
Is there opportunities for like expansion of it as a more of a recycling facility than just a compost? Like for instance, like leaf palletization is a great way to save a ton of money for people who are like lower revenue in, like people in the Cape. You can take leaves and convert them to pellets and fuel homes and make heat and do all these things, and that's a compost friendly product. Is there anything like that?
So right now with the property that is, the military is managed our expectations of, what we're doing right now. I think in the future, if we can prove this concept, and take this modular idea and expand it, I mean, the property is large enough to do that. I think as we work through this and as this is, this is a benefit to the military as well, if we want to concede to that. So I really think that in the future, in the 5+ years from now, there's room to have those discussions. I mean, that would be my hope.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be good because we don't have any kind of it's just something, and it's going to become, the thing is, recycling is going to become, I think, this is just my personal belief, that recycling is going to become far more profitable from raw material production standpoints than it has ever been, because the tariffs, I mean, I predicted that for a local business and they are shut down now because they didn't listen to the tariffs. And with all these things with aluminum, for instance, we're shipping it off Cape, we could be processing it and even casting it as a business or just selling raw aluminum within the continental United States to make, if you've seen the tariffs on aluminum, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So just.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see some, not only domestic markets, but like a hyper local market.
Yeah, sands too. You could crush bottles to make sand. Again, if you're not trying to make profit on it, it works. If you're trying to make profit, it's a bit tougher because that's not a very profitable process either.
Yeah, a lot of this is focused on identifying and responding to a need, to a problem that we have, and then trying to provide a cost avoidance to the community.
I mean, that's where sand is handy because we live on a sandbar and just the East Hamp's $180,000 expenditure a year at minimum.
So the Commonwealth right now through MassDOT, the processed glass aggregate is 3/8 minus. So you can go into sand. It's much more costly to continue to grind it down because it's harder on the equipment.
Yeah.
But if a town or a community wanted to do that, and your Board of Health and Select Board, your powers that be said we want to use these crushed glass on our beaches, and it's Florida does it.
Yeah, no, I'm from Pennsylvania. We use it for we rebuilt the main highways by just sticking glass underneath it, building right on top, and then taking it away.
Yeah.
It took a day to rebuild the whole thing when that terrible fire happened.
Orleans used the processed glass aggregate as some of their sewer fill.
And New Orleans uses it a lot as well. I spent a lot of time down there doing Katrina relief, and they've been doing it for how long has that been? When was Katrina? Christ.
Sam, do you take your glass at Dennis still?
Strategic.
But is it straight to strategic now, or do you go through Dennis?
And we don't go through that.
You don't.
No, yeah.
But you did or did? That one,
No, we never did.
okay.
Even cullet conversion could increase efficiency fivefold just because the compression of, compression of matter. So it's things I was thinking about that things I was trying to do,
Yeah, I mean, again, with the military base, I mean, we'd have to adhere to what, I mean, if you don't, at the end of the day.
The military bases, the nice thing is they give you a lot of leeway because I worked for Los Alamos Labs and things they can get away with just because those federals like no problem, even if it's illegal, don't worry about it.
I mean, they're so evolved. Like I've never really had much interaction with the military or being on the base, and I've learned a lot about even how the base itself works. And different funding sources, and that they're joint base literally meant like it's the army and this, and they're not just like a base.
Yeah.
And so the folks that I've been interacting with, they're so, I would say they're progressive, they're proactive, they want to learn, they want to know, I think they want to be a part of the solution, don't want to be a part of the problem. And I think there's a community stewardship that they're really working on, and they've been doing it since the master planning with the county in the 90s. They're doing it with the Mass Tech, the alternative septic. They're doing it with this project. And I think as we continue to prove, again, these concepts that we're creating, I don't want to call it a pilot program. You say it's a pilot because potentially fail, right?
Yeah, that's I think of when I think of, because I've done pilots myself, and it's like 50-50.
You're trying to be wary about it,
Yeah.
right? So with the proof of concept, we're really saying that we've done the research, we found the land, we did the property, we've got somebody with the natural resources who's Army, Jake Comer, who's been working with us, and he's very direct. I love hearing the things that he has to say with conservation and the habitats and the protections of species and whatnot. And it's fascinating to sit there I think they like to hear on our end what information we can bring to them. So as long as these types of things that we're doing in tandem with the military work, there's growth. I think there's definitely room for growth, especially with the folks that I've met. Nobody's stopping us. They just want to make sure it's done.
How far away from here is that military base?
So to get here, it took me about 25 minutes from Chatham, but I take 28 here. So if you were to get it on 6 up to the base to that rotary, I'm not sure that primary entrance would be, but let's just call it the rotary. I would say 45 to 50 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Because it takes me to get to Sandwich about 50 to 55 minutes from Chatham.
Yeah, I won't
Sneak
bike
down
as far.
to Sam.
Go
then-
peek in there. See it. So.
Yeah, but we have renderings of like the Burrow Pit, or its old BMX site, where that 150 acres, exists. But again, we're only looking at 20 acres.
Yeah, I got you.
As far as what the county's interested in right now, the usage would be acres, like that fourth acres, like that mitigation buffer zone.
So in January, is there gonna be a big public outreach, you think, or longer than that?
It's a public project, if you will.
Yeah.
But once, I'm kind of following what the Upper Cape towns and the military want to do. So in the county, because they're the stakeholders right now. So once the IMA and the county votes on this, and I have this pool of 75,000, and there are other grant funds that I'm going to look towards. But in my estimate, and nobody told me I wasn't right, talking to experts in this, the 75,000 should be able to carry us through this legal process with a continuation with our consultant, so that we do get to that end result of what that marketable material looks like and what the process of getting to that piece is. But to build and everything else, still going to be my job in a way to continue to look for funding for that, as far as infrastructure and other areas of the project. So, I just think.
Just let us know what
I feel like in January, if everybody's cool with it, yeah, I would love to put it at the Cape Cod Times, and tout it out. I think the county would like to see that too. But if the military is not comfortable with that, I don't want to. Yeah. But they know it's out in these public forums. They know we talk about it. They know other communities are interested. So, as long as we're sticking to the rules. you know, I mean, everybody seems really copacetic so far, you know, we're careful. We wanna make sure that it's done right, it's done properly, it works
Are they talking about
someday.
permanently giving up the site, the military?
Yeah, so it's a parcel of land that the military has identified as no longer viable for military use or needs.
Okay,
So Mass Development, with their master plan, working with the military, has first right of refusal for any excess parcels of land. This one has already been identified to be divested. So in working with Mass Development and the military, the county has already said, ooh, we want that parcel. And Mass Development has already said, we don't see that we're going to use it. So it would be through that sort of triangle. So whether or not we directly divest it from the state and the military, or we have to go through Mass Development to get it, is yet to be seen. But I spoke with the director over at Mass Development, and there's a couple of ways that we can potentially look at how that's going to happen.
and will this parcel be directly accessible from 6, or we have to go through what amounts to being an Air Force base to get to the parcel?
That I am not sure, but from my understanding is you wouldn't have to go through a gate.
Okay. Because I'm just concerned about setting this plan up and even becoming dependent upon it. And then the people in Washington decide, well, we need this, and we can't have you folks running trash through a sensitive facility, so we're closed. So
That hasn't come up at all in a year and a half, 2 years of these conversations with the military base. Like, there's never been anybody saying that this is a foreseeable issue. You know, they did, you know, part of the study shows like a transportation study within, you know, access to the property itself. And, you know, the trucking right now is so limited on, you know, who would be going in and out of there, that at the moment it's not seen as an issue.
okay.
I think the shutdown would occur is if either the operator owner wasn't doing what they were supposed to do, and it just sort of failed on its own because things weren't being done correctly towards the end. But I haven't heard anybody say that potentially the government with the use of military, because the property is state property. And they're divesting it to Mass Development. If Mass Development passes on it, then it can go to somebody like the county.
Thank you.
Yep. So you've heard of Carl Cavosa? Have you heard that name, Cavosa?
The name is not familiar to me, no.
Okay, so he's a trash hauler here on the Cape. He's primarily
okay. Yes,
based out of
okay.
Falmouth.
Now I know who it
Yeah,
is.
and he has the lease for the Upper Cape Regional Transfer Station currently. So even like a for-profit vendor he operates that currently. So like your buddy can. This is name Bob.
Bob, yeah, it's New England Fire Trust Company.
But yeah, that's a good question. It has not come up that, you know, potentially they could shut us down for reasons sort of like force majeure, where the federal government's like, nope. But it's state property.
Okay.
Yeah.
I asked this question only because, as I think we all know, things have changed in Washington, and things are not as predictable as they used to be.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was really interesting.
Yeah, very helpful.
Yeah, we're getting there. There's forward momentum.
Will tours be available this spring?
Yeah, that's what I want to see this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe tours will be available?
I have a feeling that if I spoke to my primary contacts within the military base, they would be more than happy to show us I mean, they toured us at the first parcel that they had introduced to us, and then they came up with the second piece of land that makes more sense for this particular project. So if I asked and said, you know, hey, you know, is there a date or time that somebody can grant us access and you show us around and talk about the piece of land, they'd be more than happy, I'm sure. Yeah.
Great,
See why not?
great, that's good news.
Mm-hmm. I tried to take a screenshot of a really good photo that Colonel Gordon put out on the screen. He was sharing the screen, and my Surface laptop doesn't like to do it unless I have a keyboard attached, or you know, control all print screen. My keyboard will not do that, so it'll show the last thing that I copy and paste. So I like opened up a window, and like, that's it, number, 20. And this is the exact highlighted circle. I did that, I opened up Word to print it. It was like some website that I was copying to somebody else that I was sending an email to. Probably the RDP worksheet or something.
Thanks for doing this, Karen.
It's that could be a useful site for a lot of future recycling projects, it sounds like. I mean, even if it's half a measure now, it's still something to stand on later.
Love to see, the Eco Park.
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to figure out something like that. I mean, even just to try to, like I said, now I'm building a machine right now to grind up plastic to inject into molds, just because there's nobody doing anything like it on the Cape, and I can make little tchotchkes for. I mean, freaking people make Labubu's and stuff on 3D printers now. I can inject and mold Labubu's from Cape Cod. I don't care.
I just learned
Waste plastic. I seen here. I was like, I can make those things, and people will buy them for ridiculous prices because that's what's in that bag. Perfect.
Because one of the gender kids, or what are their names? Kardashian's kids. Someday, that's what I heard about. I saw it on like some website. They're like, if you don't know what they are, they're like tiny little dolls that children.
It's Beanie Babies 2.0.
Thank you.
It's what it is. And best as I can figure.
Yeah. And they literally cost like thousands.
Yeah, people pay like to get a specific one. And it's not like Beanie Babies. You're like, I want the dog that has the same birthday as me, and then this one I want that has a flamingo. It's like a bag, and you're like, what's in it? A Labubu. You open it up, it's like no, purple one, garbage, and you already have 20 of them because they're there's odds to them and stuff, and people go. I don't understand it. I'm not human compared to everybody else. I guess
they're the influence of like they influence the whole trend. So that's why, I just learned what it is. Because if you said that maybe a month ago, I would have been like, what?
I would have even not been able to use the word Labubu because I wouldn't have known what you're talking about. I just found out what they were. And someone's like, you can 3D print Labubus now. And I was like, what is it? Why would you print that?
Just gotta find out the algorithm of the ones that need to go on.
Yeah, that's exactly what people are doing. They're like printing fake black ones because like apparently that's a rare one, or these weird rainbow ones, which apparently are rare too. It's like, I don't
Let me take the last minute.
Yeah, sure.
Go through for the agenda, the volunteer recruiting. The woman that was here the last time is not actually our search committee liaison. It's Merrill, and so he'll take over. But in the meantime, we're gonna put up some extra volunteer recruiting signs at the swap shop. And last night, even at the select board meeting, Kayla's gonna help us with some more communications with email, Facebook information in the new year. So hopefully we'll get some more communication and volunteers.
Oh, I can get younger people now. I don't know. That's great.
Yeah, that'd be great. So
A bunch of young.
Jim helped me with the new member packet that I put together, and he says it's pretty good. So hopefully kind of onboarding will be a little faster. I showed Kim one of the other projects that I was working on to help with onboarding. That's really still very much a work in progress. And then for the initiatives for the new year, I think we're just going to table that for January because we're late. So, but thank you, Karen.
You could have shut me up anytime.
No, right. No, it was much more important to hear that.
Yeah,
That was
good
really,
information.
that gives us some ideas to think about when we're thinking about what initiatives to pursue. So, all right, so you want to move?
I'll move to end if that's what you are looking for. Move to adjourn.
And I will second.
All in favor? Three of us.
Yes, everybody.
Thank you,
John, I
sir.
texted John. I was like, read more.
All right, so
Wastewater sludge at all?
I was just gonna ask. I want to get to more. I want more information on this. I could spend the next 3 hours talking about it, but I did want to keep.
Yeah, so sludge is not super in my wheelhouse. The last real sort of complaint that I heard about it was when Maine said that they weren't importing any more, trash, which was where sludge was going. I think so. I haven't really circled back to a lot of the communities on what they're doing with it now. I'm assuming they're exporting it the same way,
So are you talking about the sludge from?
like the wastewater treatment facilities. Is that
Okay, I was thinking wastewater from the runoff of the composting facility.
yeah, the bio?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
They're saying that wastewater sludge now is gonna be like getting rid of trash. Like,
Yeah.
there's gonna be nowhere to get rid of it, and now everybody's gonna have it, and what are we gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's a way we could process it.
I mean, you can put it into an anaerobic digester.
Yeah, there you go. We can, well, I know where there's, I knew there was an anaerobic digester we could use, but unfortunately it's not allowed to operate commercially in the town of Eastham. But that's exactly the type of equipment I'm talking about incorporating into the composting, because that machine will speed up your composting tenfold.
Yeah,
And it's not even that much of an investment of infrastructure to put there, because the problem is once you put it there, you can't move it.
yeah, and
But-
the energy credits are hard to sell. So Bourne had a project about 15 years ago, and they got all the way through, spent millions of dollars on it. Harvest Power was going to buy the energy credits and I think operate the facility, and they backed out because the cost prohibitive.
Are you kidding?
Nature.
They spent all that money?
Yeah,
They couldn't do anything.
they didn't do anything. Yarmouth has been working on something since I believe 2017. They've received grant funds, and then that, from what I know, is a kaput project. I haven't heard a lot about it recently. They had offered some grant funds to the county, but they had a cutoff date, and things kind of fell through with the conversation with their former finance person. So as far as the bio sludge and things like that, I'm imagining that that's gonna be, but no, I don't get that many questions about it because it's kind of not in my wheelhouse. It's like not hazardous waste, it's not
Yeah.
solid waste, so
It's not hazardous waste.
it's treated differently.
I say these have to be general waste.
But yeah, it's not, I mean, when you look at the definition of solid waste, composting falls into solid waste.
Yeah, no, but like,
But the bio is treated differently, just kind of like a universal waste versus a hazardous waste. There's
Okay.
different permitting.
Yeah, for
different
sure.
regulation. So there are different treatment and outlets, you know, for the solid, or the, I'm sorry, the biosolids. But, again, I don't know, I know very little about, you know, transportation and outlets for that. I have a feeling in the next few years, I'm gonna learn a lot more.
See, I used to deal with hazardous waste all the time, and it's usually considered general waste of that kind. Because it's the same, if you dig out like so when you, I'm sorry to divert, but if you are working at a facility that handles chemicals, typically has like what's called a sludge pit, it's the same type of waste. And that's typically considered universal or general waste, like same as like the lights, like you don't need like lights with
The CFLs?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Or any kind of fluorescence.
Yeah.
So it should be able to be handled in the same way, which would still be trash, but
Yeah, it's just a different.
yeah, for sure.
It's
You
a
can't just
different
throw them on
man-
the ground.
right.
Yeah,
It's a-
you
it's
have
a
to-
different management.
that's why I asked about the runoff, because that would be, you could then compost it to a degree if you had the proper.
Yeah, we would be collecting the leachate from in a collection pool or tank. So with the compost, we'll see that.
No, I'm saying both systems, you could share resources to minimize costs to dispose of those things.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the Conservation Law Foundation, they would fight having biosolids and organics going in through the same system at the same time, because then you're negating the residuals that are coming out from it. So a cleaner product would be the food and the organics, not food, organics, and biosolids.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, they were gonna use that water for something, they're just gonna. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm a process engineer, this is the kind of stuff I want to know
Yeah,
all the details.
yeah, no, I totally, a lot of this stuff I don't.
Gotcha.
It's online.
No, that's the draft. I'm gonna send the draft out to people.
The only thing I noticed, Gwyneth, was a 10. It's the only thing.
But
It says